The following program deals with a controversial
subject.
The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation.
The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
I'm not
the
hearing
top
the Stan Lee,
talents
I'm not
in the
hearing
comic
music
book
or
business
anything.
are here to tell everything they know.
There we go. I hear it now. No comments in the stream. There we go. Hi, Gorzan.
Yeah.
We're all live, ladies and gentlemen. They can hear us perfectly. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Tuesday night here on the Industry of Comics show. Episode 58 tonight. So, very interesting. We just got back. I just got back from Wondercon. So, we're going to talk about Wondercon. We're going to talk about the big news that's going to be happening tomorrow with the Diamond sale,
AENT,
hopefully.
yep.
Being finalized by AENT. So a lot of interesting stuff. Here we have Mr. Jesse Criscione and Dennis Barger joining me, two long-time industry vets. How you guys doing?
Good. Just to verify, my name is on this card, and it is the new Ollie's card. So I did get that today. So I'm very excited about that as I start that new journey into a beta project that I think will do very well for them. Well, very well for me. I don't care about anybody else. But yeah, very excited. If you support a brand, that brand will eventually support you. So I'm all excited about that this week. So
that's cool. Very cool. Dennis, how you doing, my friend?
Same old, same old.
Amen.
I'm just getting ready for this trip. I got C2E2. I've got Japan. And then Free Comic Book Day. That's my next month. That's the next month of my life.
how tall are you, Dennis?
I'm sorry?
How tall are you?
6 foot.
6 foot. So you need to practice moving your head down about 3 inches because every doorway is like 5'9", 5'10" there. So
I've been to Japan several times, Jesse. So I know how to get around.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Very interesting. Going to be a Star Wars centric trip, but with some extra buying, which is going to be nice.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So,
and the exchange rate is like insane in our favor right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I first went to Japan, it was 110 yen to the dollar. So if you give them $1, you get 110 yen. It is 150 to the dollar right now.
Wow. There we go. Not too shabby, my friend. All right. So let's start with, I guess, the big news, the main news of this week, and that is the big day tomorrow, Wednesday, April 2nd, the date we're all hoping that the deal for Diamond distribution gets finalized to become a property of Alliance Entertainment, right?
Yes. I mean, should we still have to address kind of a 800-pound gorilla in the room. So last week, if you missed last week's episode, we had the coup d'etat of the entire comic book industry. We had Bruce Ogilvie, the co-owner of Alliance Entertainment out of Florida. They were announced Tuesday morning as the winners of the open bidding process for all of Diamond Comics U.S. operations. We made a couple phone calls. We had them on the show the day it happened. And then the next morning, we got a phone call asking us to remove the 1-hour interview because it almost disrupted the sale, according to the lawyers and the judge.
Could have.
Yes.
It was perceived to be too soon.
Right.
To be talking about all the details. So Brian tirelessly worked to remove the 1 hour on the video. We put a simple announcement, hey, we had to remove the video. And that was, I had so many calls and messages like, what was said in the thing that you had to remove the video? We don't know. We were just asked to to remove it, and we did so because we did not. None of us wanted to be the people that torpedoed the Diamond bankruptcy deal because we made an interview. So congratulations, Brian, on fixing it. Hopefully, knock on wood, everything goes good tomorrow and everything goes forward as planned. And yeah, but
The video goes right
Brian,
back up. The video goes right back up, right? I mean,
yeah, as soon as he tells us it's all good,
as
it
soon
can
as
go right back up.
as soon as that sale goes through, crossing our fingers, we'll put that video back up. But
you should just put it up as a separate video of the interview.
Yeah.
And just make that the 1 hour video.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Or you can take out you can take us out and leave it in there because it's already got the views and
Yeah.
meta and all that involved in it. But it should be interesting because at the end of the day, you have all the bids went in, right? So you had all these single bids go in for single assets. And at the end, if AENT does not come in, we could have had 20 new Diamond companies, right? Or spring out from there, or 15, whatever it is.
No, I mean, anything could have happened. Anything could have happened. Their bank could have said, hey, we saw that interview. You're buying a fucking comic book? Look at all those dorks in the chat. You're buying a company that rests on those guys? Yeah, no, we're pulling the money. Get your own money. Anything could have happened, and it would have been blamed on us if we hadn't have done what they asked us to do.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I agree, Lord of Brooklyn. I would have blamed Brian for the entire thing.
Oh yeah, we're not the main host of the show. He's the host of the show. I just come in.
Whose channel is it? I don't know whose channel it is. It's
I didn't even know we were talking about Diamond. I thought we were talking about records that whole time.
Well, I gotta say, one of the things that at Wondercon that was very evident was people watched that interview. It was very evident. A lot of people saying congrats on that, and it made a lot of noise, which is a good thing. That's what we want, right?
Absolutely. And that's what we want to do here on this show is while the entire industry, and no offense, Brian, we love you, but 2 years ago, if this had happened and this announcement was done, you guys would have been going off about, oh my God, he spent $160 million on this. Oh, this, and other thing. Oh, they don't, and it's just like, hey guys, let's not debate the speculation. Let's try to get in as close as we can to the info, tell you guys based on our knowledge, all of our knowledge on what we think is happening. And clearly we were pretty close to the mark on every episode we've done about this for the last 2 months. And then to have the guy who actually bought it come on the show and basically said, no, that's wrong. This is what we plan on doing. Oh, no, that's not what we planned. We don't really care about that. We'll talk about that later. We had the answers. While everybody else was speculating, we had the answers.
Right. Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, they'll get all the info. They'll take them a week to go through everything, each category, figure out what the best way to go forward on it. There might be stuff they might say, we just don't have interest in that. There was a bidder for this item. Let's contact that bidder, right? And see if they want to buy it. I know FCBD, a lot of people bid in for FCBD, and you might have some people that, and that would be the right way to do it instead of trying to hold on to something you have zero interest on.
Can we talk about that real quick? Because there was a story that came out, I believe, a story talking about how another company had made the purchase for the grading, the CGA part of Diamond. And that's not true, right? If I am
no, it is true. But go ahead, Brian. You or Dennis, you can.
It's true that they made the bid, but it's not true that they won the bid.
They put in the highest bid for that particular section, and it's like we said 2 or 3 weeks before all of this ended. All of these people are going to throw all of these assets in, and it might equal $45 million if you added up each and every one of those bids. But if the court decides, you know what? Instead of doing 10 different, 15 different deals for all these pieces, here's this company, AENT. They're offering close to $50 million for all of this without any hassles whatsoever. They've got the money. Maybe this guy's money wasn't as solid as the court would hope. Maybe this guy's money wasn't as solid as the court would hope. These guys had the money. Their bank said, you got 120, like he said, like Bruce said on the show last week. We only spent 70 million of our credit. We still had the 50 million to offer. Then our bank, after we purchased that, gave us another, I think, 40 million on top of
40
that.
million on top of assets. Yeah.
Yeah, for their petty cash.
Right.
And I think the bank just said, look, let's take the guys offering it for everything and let them deal with all this.
Yeah,
Instead
and I will tell you, all the assets separate did not come up to that number that they've been.
Yeah.
I will tell you, those numbers are so freaking low. And so at the end of the day, it just makes sense, right? It makes sense to get it all done.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a notion that what happens to Diamond tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., regardless of what the judge says, right? Well,
regardless of what the judge says, Diamond had a court-ordered April 1st deadline,
right? Exactly.
To either sell or close.
Exactly.
Okay, so they accepted this offer. The lawyers in charge of the bankruptcy accepted this offer, which continues that to tomorrow. Where
shout out to JSS Brooklyn for the $9.99 super chat that says, interesting, important discussion. Thank you, panel and Brian. Amen, brother. Amen.
So it's that got continued because the offer was accepted by the lawyers. Now everything is done and it goes before the judge, who has to decide, is this in the best interest of all the creditors, all of the debtors, etc. And that's where we're at tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be very, very interesting. I would tell everybody that has talked about this, are the articles written about this, please see what happens tomorrow. Let them come out and explain what they're going to do. A lot of you have written stuff that really isn't even close to what the discussion was. And I will tell you, in the business world, no does not mean not ever, right?
Yep.
It just means no, at this moment you have not proven to me. So this $5 notion that people are all freaked out about, well, let's prove to them why, when you take 100,000 copies, right?
Right.
Versus the notion of one guy doing 500. So you guys got to really work together. So
I don't even think it's that, Jesse. If there's, first of all, let me say, I think this purchase will save the comic book industry. And when I say that, I mean, it's going to start with opening up entire new revenue chains for comic retailers, which then allows them to make more money, to buy more comic books. There's already, everybody at Lunar and Penguin are already on the lifeboats. They're headed towards the shore. There's no problems at all with everybody who's currently there. But secondly, it's going to force people, and I actually had an amazing Sam from Shinorai. I'm saying it wrong. No, Shinobi.
No, Sam from Brian, Small Press. That
Small Press.
Oh, Sinopa.
Yes.
Sinopa. So I had a long conversation with him, and he was a little worried, and I said, you know what? Is it possible for you to make your comic book a different size and a different price point and add in the 95 cents for Alliance to carry it? And you're already one of the smartest indie small press guys I've met. And you're in places that traditionally small press guys don't go to. You know, he's in dispensaries.
Anymore. They used to.
Anymore.
Not anymore.
Right. But back to the hippie record store model. Take a drink. But he was like, "Oh, you're right." You know, we're all looking at this thing like this is the comic industry. And one of the things that I think we started from 58 episodes ago, what is a comic book store? Well, everybody thought this is the comic book store. But as we talk to all of the other creators and all that expands. There is no one business model that is the comic book store. And what this does is it opens up what a comic store can be. And it's not just a Diamond preview catalog.
Right. I think it's just changing the wording as well. We need to start saying, listen, we have collectible stores. We have collectible stores that sell stuff, basically. Yeah. You know, Dennis is going to be making some announcements here soon. I'm meeting with a landlord tomorrow. I'm not going in there and looking at this new space saying, okay, all the comics are then go here and then the trades are that. No, I'm going to be saying everything goes in the store now because we need to sell everything to every type of collector out there. Yep. And the notion is a lot of these, I think what hurts us is we forget a lot of these collectors cross into other collectibles.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's where we come out ahead of in this notion that we have a different way to think that is available to us. So it is interesting, right? When you first start off as buyers, we kind of, oh, well, I got the stamp collection. Oh, that's okay. You keep that. Now it's like, no.
I want it.
Bring that over.
Yeah.
Every time. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead.
Every time I looked at a comic book collection, 70s era comic book collection, early 80s era comic collection, there was always records, cassette tapes, stuff that they were looking to get rid of as well. It wasn't just the comic books. And every time I said, how much for the vinyl? Oh, quarter a piece. I'll take that. How much for the cassettes? I don't know, 10 cents a piece. Now that was 20 years ago when 25-cent vinyl was every garage sale you went to.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, okay, cool. You know what? I'm not going to leave Dark Side of the Moon.
One of the things
here for a quarter.
One of the things that was very evident to me is I met 5 other old school dealers at the con, and each one of them, the thing that I think set them apart from everybody is inventory, right? Inventory is such a big part of what you can do in this industry right now. And if you were a guy who was just buying, you know, key comics in the 80s for $1 a pop and stacks of, you know, what we call keys now for 25 cents a pop and just sitting on them, there are a lot of old school retailers out there that have a theater full of fucking shit. You know what I mean? They have a warehouse full of shit sitting somewhere. And those are the guys that are doing really well. The other guys, it's those two eyes: inventory, right, and integrity. How you're able to deal with other people, how you're able to, what is your brand? If you lean on your brand, is your brand, you know, sound. But here's the problem: the inventory outweighs everything. It outweighs everything.
One of the guy, I would not call him a mentor. He was kind of an anti-mentor. Like, oh, make sure I don't do it that way. Make sure I don't do it this way. Make sure. And one of the things that he said that always stuck with me, and it's inventory is the one thing you cannot buy when you want to. You have to buy it when you don't want to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the 16 stores I bought in my history as a retailer, here's what I've done. I've walked in and obviously I didn't buy Dennis's store, but I walk in and say, hey, Dennis, I hear you're looking to sell your store. Tell me what you got. I'm like, whoa, wait. I don't care about anything in your back room. Let's walk into your in your front room. Let's walk into your back room. And the second I walk into the back room will tell me if I'm going to buy that store or not. Because everything on the floor that's out there, you went out of business because you couldn't sell that. But I could keep you in business if I can get all the stuff in back. And I can't tell you how many stores I've walked in and they've had hundreds of long. What's in there? Oh, I don't know. I haven't looked at those in 20 years. Okay, cool. Done deal.
Crazy.
Let's figure it out.
It's crazy.
You know,
It's nuts.
when I bought Dr. Fantasies, Brian, which was up on
I remember where that
75th
was.
and Bell.
Yeah.
75th and Bell. When I bought that store, I went into their back room. They had sealed boxes of Hot Toys.
I remember.
Sealed boxes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and get this, when I say sealed boxes, never taken out of the postal box.
Yeah.
So companies across the nation have to look at their back room to assess where they are going to go in the future, and can they turn that back room product? That's the key in buying this. Like Brian or like Dennis said, you got to buy. You should always be buying, but sometimes when you want to buy and there's nothing out there, you got to work your ass off and start looking at other state, talking to other retailers. Right?
Well, let's talk about that backstop stock, and specifically a certain kind of backstop. Let me bring everybody into the matrix here real quick. There's a certain type of backstop that people are talking about when it comes to this diamond sale, and that being Image's backstock, huh?
Yep.
There's a lot of books that Diamond is sitting on, and some of those publishers who own those books are starting to maybe notice. And this is kind of interesting. Image Comics objects to Diamond bankruptcy deal, reveals contract. What's going on here?
So basically what happens is Diamond pays a commission on products sold. They don't buy your product, right? So when you sell your product, they pay you a commission. Now, they also charge you a holding fee and all of that good stuff. And it's a roundabout good way to do business. The problem is when you go into bankruptcy, your assets are assets that you own, that you can sell. You can't sell someone else's assets. And so what Image is saying is, whoa. Our product can't be in the deal because our product, we own that product. Diamond pays us a commission, so we want that product. And that's what they're saying. Now, this has opened up the door to all the publishers saying, okay, how much product do I have there? Does the cost to ship outweigh what I have there? Or is it worth it just to say, we're done?
Plus, there's that sadistic bargain that AENT is going to be able to do. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, hey, Image, you've got these 20 pallets sitting over here. We now can charge you to move those pallets around our warehouse. How much do you want to pay us to ship all this crap to wherever you want? Because we're not doing this for free. There's going to be some give and take. And at the point at which Image made that deal with Lunar and kind of bailed on Diamond, they kind of lose favored nation status, for the most part.
Sure. Yeah. Every square foot is adjusted for in a warehouse. And it's very, very important. So I think Image in this case is saying, listen, it's worth it for us to say, we want our product. We're not here to give away product, right? Bruce last week said, we're not a bank. Well, Image is saying, well, we're not a bank either.
Yeah.
We have to have that product to distribute it. Now they have to find a place to send it. And again, this is something that I think is common sense. If someone said, oh, this come out of left park or right park, no, it didn't. This is probably common sense. Just no one really thought about it, right?
Right.
But common sense says, listen, we want our product. I don't see anything wrong with this. I'm sure the courts are then decide. And now you have to look at the law in not only Maryland, but in Baltimore itself. And I believe in this article, it does state that there's a specific law in Baltimore or Maryland that allows Image to push this at its highest level. So
Very interesting.
Yeah. And every publisher should be asking. If they have product there, they should be asking. Cost of doing business is shipping, right? We've learned that through business college, business 101. Cost of shipping or cost of business is shipping. And if you have to ship something, you have to put that in your cost of business. The product is depreciated product, right? So they're taking that over 10 years and blah, 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 blah on their taxes. So it will work out good. But I think it's very interesting how this goes. I do want to talk about what someone talked about. People are going to be selling their collections. Obviously, I said this last week. There are anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 plus collections being sold every single week. It does not matter what's going on in the world. There are always people selling their collections. They're moving, right? The person died. Those are your 1 and 2. And then you got the third person who just wants to make some money, right?
Wait, no, you forgot one, Jesse.
Well, whoever I got, who's the fourth person I forgot?
The wife.
Yes.
It's the person that, when the person passes away, yeah.
No, I'm
no,
talking about the wife that says, "Get this shit out of my house."
Oh, yeah.
I want to have a sewing room.
Yeah, definitely. I have that one. I don't know if you guys recall where the guy brought in the boxes, and I wouldn't make him an offer, and he stood there and he's like, "You don't understand. Just make me an offer. I cannot go into my house unless these are sold."
Shout out to my boy Alex, who just gifted 10 Beyond Wednesdays memberships. Congratulations, everybody. We got some new members only content coming your way shortly.
Yep. Yeah. So there's always product out there. You always got to be looking. Talk to retailers. There's a lot of retailers out there that can afford to buy collections. Those are your best friends, and those are the guys you say, "Listen, I'm going to give you a finder fee, and if I buy this collection, I'm going to give you XYZ for finding that collection for me." And so, go ahead.
I agree. I'm just agreeing.
Yeah, and so always, check out the swap meets. Check out Offer Up. Offer Up always has stuff on it. Now, a lot of that stuff is overpriced, but obviously you can work on the price. So there's always time. Even as retailers, we have clearance warehouses we can buy from all the time, which is nauseating to see how much product is being cleared out there. But you'll also, it's kind of funny. It tells, when you buy a store's collection, it tells you a story. So when I bought a certain store in Arizona, who was one of the top 3 in the nation, and bought about 50% of their store.
Just say Atomic Comics.
Yeah, Atomic Comics. I know it's over 10 years, but I still don't like giving them any street cred. But you get all these long boxes, and you open it up, and it's like, this whole long box is Civil War 3.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see what's in the next long box. This whole long box is Civil War 3.
Yeah.
And you can't figure out how you went out of business. So it is amazing the stories you can tell. I love, and Dennis gets this as well. The chances of, in my 43 years of buying collections, of that collection being in order, bagged and board, is so freaking rare. Why? Because most people were just comic book collectors. Right. And they just, I literally had collections put in the boxes by the week they got their books.
The best, Jesse, is the guy who buys his 20 books a week, and he takes them home in the bag, and then he reads them. He puts them back in the bag, and then sets the bag into the long box.
Yeah, into the long box with the
long box with the receipt from that week.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, okay, that was that week. Okay, that was the next week. Oh, wait, I'm 1 issue off from a key. Let's look in the next bag. Yep, exactly. There it is.
Yeah, and so as a retailer, I will tell you this, a comic book collection that I buy that's in order is not fun. But you give me 8 boxes that are just random comics and I have no idea what's in it, that's fun. Right? When you're going through and you're like, oh, dead. Oh, crap. So very, very cool. I don't know how we got off on that tangent.
Real
but-
quick, there is more news. Distillery now found their distribution through Penguin Random House. So one of the few that were didn't they jump back to Diamond right before Diamond?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
like
No,
what a
here's the
terrible choice.
Yeah. It's gonna be like Jesse and Brian know this. Back in June of 2024, I said the entire industry is playing a giant game of musical chairs. And then when San Diego hit, we were like, oh, here's 5 more different moves. People are jumping up and trying to find a new chair. And if you thought that game of musical chairs was over, it just started again.
Yeah.
Because now whatever Alliance does, AENT, whatever they do, there's going to be people going, hey, is the grass greener over there? Wait a second. What? I just signed a deal with Penguin Random House exclusively. Should I have done that? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Well,
Hold on one second.
jumping back and forth, man.
Yeah.
Well, here's the difference that we will now see. A good portion of people, businesses, retailers, publishers, creators were loyal to the Jeppies at Diamond, right? They weren't, I mean, could you say they were loyal to Diamond? Okay, I guess you could technically say that. But now you're in 3 businesses that are about business. There's we've known you for 30 years, right? I think the oldest relation is 5 years. So you've got to be able to come to the dance. You've got to be able to sell books and not just say, well, Penguin sold me this many books. No, you need to aid in that sale now going forward.
Yeah, because you got to prove yourself to Penguin. Penguin ain't going to give a shit about you. Yeah. Penguin ain't your buddy.
No.
Lunar ain't your buddy. Okay. Diamond was your buddy. And look where Diamond's at now. Yep. You know, I kind of look at it as, remember in Ghostbusters when Winston Zeddemore says, if there's a steady paycheck in it for me, I'll believe in anything. And then the industry kind of was like, well, Diamond's a steady paycheck until it wasn't. Until it wasn't again. Until it wasn't again. And now they've realized, okay, well, maybe Penguin isn't going to be the steady paycheck that we thought it was going to be. You know, Penguin doesn't have a previews magazine to showcase all of these indie books. Are people going to find all those same indie books the way they would in Diamond catalogs on Diamond's FOC? We've all had people talk on this show about how Penguin has the worst system for looking at a book and determining all the ordering. It's just the worst. Right. Lunar was the second worst. I don't think that Diamond, after the full AENT merger, I don't think Diamond is going to get used for what everybody knows in the industry is the best system for selling that, because AENT said it. Bruce said it on the show. No, it's all going to get ported over to here. Now, maybe their system's better than Diamond's. I got to believe it is, because their website's better. Their phone dial-up services, their voicemail is better. All of that.
We love that voicemail. How many I guarantee you've left 30 voicemails since last Tuesday.
No. But I can't tell you. Just, it was like night and day, Jesse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. I get it.
Did you call that 800 number?
I did not call that 800 number.
Call that 800 number. Don't even leave a voicemail. Just call that 800 number and look at the navigating of that.
Right.
Diamond had nothing like that voicemail navigation system on their 800 number.
Right.
30 years, nothing like that.
Right. Exactly. And you would think that we're in a world now with algorithms, with Meta, that if I go in and I order Mark Spears Thundercats, that immediately to the right would say, oh, by the way, we also have all these Mark Spears in stock.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to be at, right? And I think if it's Alliance, if it's Penguin, if it's whoever else, I'm missing Lunar, whoever else comes out, they need to make it friendly to the retailer. The retailer is buying just like a customer buys from us.
Right.
We're just buying everything, right? And
Yeah.
so we're making conscious decisions on every single line. And you can only go 3, 6, 4, 2, 1 before your mind starts to get scrambled. And I think it's very important that we look at an advanced way for retailers to buy product based on the information they're getting from their customer base.
But you heard it here on this show last week when George Chase realized he could buy Lego from Alliance. How many stores sell Legos? A lot. 10%? Okay, that's fine. 10% of these retailers now have an option to buy Lego.
Yeah. By the way, I want to thank George Chase for jumping on with us. I was really hoping he would have jumped back on for the end of the show. So we got to get him on again because I want to hear, his thoughts post interview. I was really looking forward to hearing his thoughts. So thanks, George, for jumping on with us, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll save the rest of it for the next couple weeks, because it's gonna the end of this is coming. We could see the end of it. They can see the horizon. So we'll get into it more next week. Let's jump over to the next biggest thing, which to me is WonderCon. And WonderCon was very interesting. I spent a lot of time talking to publishers, to creators, to retailers. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
It's the fourth or fifth biggest show in the country, but it's the third most attended by publishers.
Well, I'll tell you what was known, or what was talked about throughout the con, was that the con was on fire before the pandemic, and that it's never really caught that fire again, which is very interesting. Also, thing that I really noticed is cosplay. It's very big for cosplay because it's in LA. Swag was the one that told me. Shout out to Swag, who just jumped in the chat. What's up, brother? He mentioned that, this is big on cosplay because it's so close to LA. All the actors can come out,
Yep.
So it was very big on cosplay. It was a decent con for me. I mean, I didn't do a lot of spending on comics. I did pick up the Todd McFarlane variants, and I'm having them shipped back to me to hopefully to put them on a live sale and sell and pay for my hotel. That was kind of one of the things. I usually don't buy comics, but this time, because I figured, okay, I can stand in line for this and hopefully pay for my hotel or most of my hotel with this.
Yeah.
So it was worth it to do. But other than that, I really didn't buy anything. I did go and talk to a lot of new artists. This is one of the first time where I went and searched out new artists. I talked to this guy, Thaddeus Robick. I believe his name's Robick. Really awesome artist. I talked to this guy, Sean Forney, another really good artist.
Sean Forney's from Michigan area.
Oh, he's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, he's been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
I think he did all of my Detroit fan fairs.
I spent time with Marat, talking to Marat a lot. And it was pretty cool because all three, McFarlane, Jim Lee, and Rob, were there, which was very cool. That was interesting. I'll get into much more of that on tomorrow's show. But it was just a fun show. There wasn't anything that stood out to me. Of course, like I said in the beginning of the show, a lot of people talking about Beyond Wednesdays, which was nice. I ran into a lot of people that saving things to give me, which was very cool. So shout out to all them. I'll talk more about them tomorrow, and pickups. But it was a really good show. But here's what I want to talk about. The prices there were outrageously high. And one of the things that I noticed is that a lot of retailers are now putting eBay price lower than eBay price on their stickers or something. And I'm thinking to myself, you guys are crazy, because if you don't think people look at eBay prices and you're just going to get one over on them by putting lower than eBay price and it's still 1.5 to 2 times, it's like, this is nuts. I feel like some of these con retailers are just really out there when how they're pricing things. Now, what I also noticed is, of course, the live selling. I saw, shout out to Elvine's Comics. Every time I walked by his booth to say what's up to him, he was live streaming. So, again, same thing.
But was he
same
paying
with the
attention
Maycon.
to you? That's all Jesse cares about.
Yeah.
I didn't even spend, because I saw I was live streaming, I just kind of walked by.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's a very interesting concept. What you got to do is you got to figure out how to do both. And if you
Yes.
can do both, that's a winning thing, because what you just said is a typical comic book fan, right? I can't tell you, and me and Dennis have sat behind the tables at a lot of tables, right? And you watch these customers come out and they're very hesitant to come up to John. They're John Layman's their guy, but they've never met him. And so they don't want to interrupt them.
Yeah.
Right. So you kind of got, hey, come on over, don't worry about me. We're just chatting, or John's, come on over, type of thing. But if someone's live streaming and you're a consumer, you really don't want to interrupt them.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, how much is this? Oh, no, they're live streaming. Okay, we'll come back when he's not live streaming. So I think the goal is we should always be selling. We should be finding what platforms work for us. And then how do we actually sell as well? If you are a great live seller, you should be able to say, hey, folks, 1 second. Sir, what are you looking at? Let me help you there. Don't worry about this. They'll wait for me. What can I show you today?
Yep.
What can I sell you today? That's why you're at the con.
That's how I met Gary Beekler at Texas, at Dallas. I'm in the middle of a live whatnot sale, and I see Gary Beekler, and I'm like, "Hey, Nerd Roddick, get over here! Come here! Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing whatnot. Whatnot. Just hold on a second." And you can pause a live sale to do business.
Oh yeah, sure.
That was a really important contact that I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And he's right in front of me on my stage. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
totally.
totally.
Being able to control your room is probably the number one thing you need to learn in live streaming. How do I control the room? How do I look at the chat room and make sure that it's not going too far, but also allowing them to have fun, but making sure they're not having too much fun and not paying attention to the show.
Speaking of that, one of the things that was really cool is this was for the first time. Now, listen, my road dog for cons is leg. I'm always, if I'm going to a con, I'm going and I'm staying with leg. It's just, it's the, let me tell you, it's the smart move to make. So this was the first time in any con that I've gone with him where both nights, Friday and Saturday night, he spent like 2 hours live streaming, selling books in the hotel room, which is totally different. It's a different mindset when you go to a con and you're like, okay, I have to do a sale tonight. So he's spending time going on the floor, looking for cool artists that have small print run, cool con variants to get them to sign and sell on the show that night, which is very smart. And then he brought some stuff to sell with him. He brought, a book that he did, a G.I. Joe book that he did. He was able to get G.I. Joe books signed by Benitez, that one of his variants. And it was a smart move. And it was the first time that I seen Leg do that. So it was very in the forefront of me, right? So the live streaming thing is, and people are learning how to do it smarter. They aren't just willy-nilly. They're very thought oriented. This is who I'm going after. This is what I'm doing, and I think the focus is getting better on how they're doing these live streams rather than just doing what Whatnot hands them, or what eBay Live hands them, at these cons. They're doing different things. Yep. So, anyways, that was very interesting. It was also very interesting to bring up the live streaming thing with a lot of the old school retailers who are con guys. Most of them aren't even retailers. They're con guys that just set up at cons.
Yep.
But there's other guys who are old school retailers that are now just getting into Whatnot and learning, okay, this is how to sell on Whatnot, and this is how to sell on live streaming, and this and that. And here's the funny thing. I didn't hear much news about any crazy books selling at the con, nothing major, and maybe I missed it, because sometimes you don't hear about it. But I did hear about this weekend where our boy Rage Theo sold an AFA or a CGC 4.0 Signature Series Amazing Fantasy 15 for $60,000 on a live stream on IG, you guys.
Wow.
How crazy is that? So this is, I'm telling you, it's like the quiet before the storm for the title of the show with the Diamond to American Alliance Entertainment. Quiet before the storm, where the biggest sale is coming the weekend of WonderCon isn't from WonderCon. I don't know if that's true, but I didn't hear about any AF-15 selling at WonderCon. I could be wrong. It could have happened, but I know this happened, and you know what? I know all these other sales happened plus more. Shout out to Golden Age Guru who did a huge live sale this weekend where he sold major bangers, and he let Rage Theo and Phil One True Nerd King, consign with them, and they just did everything, and they had these huge sales, $60,000 for a book.
So
that's a big deal.
Let me ask the DS this: should we be surprised about this? Is
That
this
it went
a surprise, or are you more surprised about the dollars being sold?
I'm surprised that one of the biggest sales in comics happened on a live stream the weekend of a big con. That's what's surprising to me.
Right.
And it's showing me that live streaming is an even a bigger player than we think it is.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be through Whatnot or eBay Live. It can be on your own.
But live streaming doesn't have a timestamp. So WonderCon is a 4-day trick pony, and that's it. Right. So if someone's not going to WonderCon, what do you want to do? You want to sell that person because they're not at WonderCon. So I think the con is technically an advantage for people to say, hey, if you can't make it to WonderCon, I got books for you today anyways. So I think the surprise might be, well, yeah, this book sold for that much, but collectively look at how much money is sold during live stream shows 7 days a week, 24/7, and there's no cap on live streaming. Now there's a cap of good sellers, right? People that know how to sell books. Obviously, Joe from Sonoma, Sonoma, California, who's never sold a book, probably can't sell a $60,000 book on IG. But we have a lot of people that have said, listen, I'm not going to invest in a comic book store. I'm not going to go to a con. I'm going to set up my display and I'm going to sell me some books.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's all it is. So I guess my point is I'm no longer surprised at anything. What I'm surprised is still the lack of people that don't do it. Not only is it the people that don't do it, it's the people that claim it's not worth it. That's the thing that still is mind-boggling to me.
Well,
these were and one more thing, Dennis. These were also people in me and your day that were against eBay or Amazon, right?
I remember those days, Jesse.
Yep.
I went to a Kane County toy show probably around 2000, where every one of the old timers that I was going up and trying to buy stuff from, they were like, and I was selling on eBay. That was where I was making my money. Not just, I didn't have a store then. And they were just shitting on eBay. Like, you can get $100 for that on eBay, but fuck that eBay thing. I want 120. Okay, that's fine. It only goes for 100 on eBay. I'm good. That was before mobile phones or any of that shit. But, it was that mentality that let that inventory sit and rot in those old time dealers' hands. But I was going to say, so you got that $60,000 sale there. You've got the live streaming going on. You've got all of that. Brian, I just sent you 2 links. If you could pull those up real quick, I'll tell you where I was on Saturday. So this is the super auction here in my local area. All of the sharks were out for this, but look at these comic books, guys. All of this stuff was available. The Captain America went for $10K. Just about every book went for between 50 and 75% of going value. All of the biggest comic book dealers were there. I showed up about a half hour after the comic auction started because everybody was chasing these comics. Everybody was there. Or they sent people there. There was, if I had to guess, $250,000 for this sale. $500,000, $1,000, lots of stuff sold at this auction. I went for the toys. And if you go to that one, you get past all the tractors. It was a lot of just junky toys. But when it got to this stuff, I was getting this stuff for a steal. And these are small turns that I will make 10 times the profit off of than any of those guys who bought those comic books in the comic auction.
Shit. Hold on 1 second here, everybody.
Whoa!
Shout out to Kal-El, who just dropped a $100 super chat. Let's play that one more time. I'm rich, bitch! He says 75 years of comic book experience, 75 plus years of comic book experience in one show. Kal-El, thank you, my brother.
Yeah, we
thank
appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Oh,
and it is crazy. Ken, so how I plan, just real different to answer his question real fast. What I do is I look at the price points that I'm going against in the rooms, because you got to keep in mind, everybody's selling the same stuff at these cons and all the live shows. Yeah. So I just have to go the verses. So if everybody's at 50, I'm then be showing $15 to $25 books to get those people. And then they're not going to be exclusives. They're just going to be cool keys. The cool thing about what Dennis is talking about is we're reading an article today. I think it was, who was it? Some industry show, business show, was talking about how antique toys now is a $7 billion business. That is amazing to think, because there are more toys out there than there are comic books.
Yeah. But I mean, I picked up, go back there. I bought that. I bought that for $15. There's 10 Superman movie comes out in a month and a half. It's probably going to be an amazing movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to get $5 to $10 for every one of those Supermans.
Yep.
I sell 3 of those. I paid for the entire tray at the auction. Wait till you get to some of the other stuff. If you get to the Skylanders, I paid $30. No. I paid.
Was this a convention or was it just?
No, this was just an auction. This was just a local auction called the Super Auction. I bought all of those. I bought all of those. I bought all these trays for like $10 to $20 a piece. That's $1 million little $1 a piece, $5
these
flips.
Jurassic World toys sell for so much money on the secondary market.
They went for nothing.
These went for nothing?
I bought that tray for like $25.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, I'll get 25 for just that T-Rex back there.
Or more.
Yeah. I bought all of that. That's all like $1 to $5 turns. I didn't get there's a little girl with her dad, and I let him buy the
Good for you. Did you get this old Operation game?
No, that was actually a new store stock, and it was wrapped in non-official plastic wrap.
Yeah, games are so tough.
I know old lures are really
they were gobbling that stuff up.
Yeah.
But the Skylanders, I got them for $20 a tray. I got all of those binders for $75, Brian.
Wow.
And then all these cards down here, there was one box of nothing but 90s Marvel cards, all top loaded, all near mint condition. I got all 5 of the Masterpiece sketches. I paid $75 for that whole tray.
Nice.
So I got 6 trays of Skylanders, about 200 Skylanders. I paid on average 75 cents a Skylander. I sell all those Skylanders for $5 a piece in my stores, both of my stores, because they're video game and they're pop culture. So I sell them in both of my stores. That's the kind of inventory that makes you huge amounts of money. And
Yep.
I wouldn't have gotten that kind of profit margin on anything I got at WonderCon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think there is a notion that people will at auctions will tend to buy what they know. And you just gotta buy.
Mhm.
You'll learn as you go, folks. You know, I can't tell you how many things I bought. I'm like, I'll never figure this out. Next thing I know is like, how many more board games can I buy?
Brian, can you pull up my Facebook post with the picture of the back of my trunk from Saturday? Sorry.
Yeah, so
I spent $1,500 at that auction. I ended up getting, I want to say, like 200 original turtles in that too. The entire back of my vehicle was full. My kids went with me, so it was fun. And yeah, if you look at that,
was it? What day was it?
Saturday. There's a picture of me and Kim in front of like an arch, and then some other pictures.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, I bought all of that for $1,500.
yeah, you gotta fill it up.
That might be 10K worth of turns. I don't know.
Well, it's 10. I look at it differently. I look at it as not just turns and margins. I look at it as it tells your customer, oh my gosh, look at this range he has. So when they go to sell or they see a buddy, they go, oh, no, he's not comics. He will take your Jurassic Park figures.
Yeah,
absolutely. Think it's advertisement. It tells someone who watches your Facebook page, oh, he's buying.
And then if you go to the picture before that or the after that, I took my kids to this RetroCon, which is just vintage clothing, records, cassettes, anything 70s, 80s, and 90s. Totally rad Comic Con, or totally rad Awesome Con, or something like that. That thing. That was where we went after the auction. And it was nothing but vintage clothes, vintage everything.
Sure.
Total hipster market. Yeah. But I spent another $500 there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Buying, I tell you what, 80s and 90s concert shirts and band shirts are just off the hook right now.
Not just that, brother. There was a $150 Magneto shirt from the 90s.
Yep.
Sitting on somebody's wall. Oh, yeah. Yep. By the way, Brian and audience, I was offered tickets to the Deftones in Detroit tonight.
Unopened. Superman Kingdom Come from early 2000s.
I am telling you.
Did you hear what I said, Brian?
Hold on.
Offered Deftone tickets this morning.
Arthur Sidem, all printed all over Marvel Zombie shirt from when it first came out in the 2000s. Never opened.
Yep. It is a huge, huge business.
Oh yeah.
Never opened.
I've got original Von Baudet shirts from the 70s in the original package.
Yeah. So anything out there, folks, music, anything that you think, that's just junk, it's not.
All going on eBay. Yep. Yeah. Every single one of them, eBay.
All has value. Me and a guy, I forgot what shirt we were fighting over at Goodwill a couple weeks ago, and Shannon had to come in and pull me away because we technically both touched the shirt at the same time, and it was just some 80s rap shirt.
Totally. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, man. They're people love nostalgia.
Vintage clothes in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Other stuff that I just bought, I hoarded it.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of the deal, folks. You gotta it goes down to a distributor. They have space and stuff fit in space, but for them to get more space, they have to sell some of that stuff. So you're always figuring it out, but have a good way to move product, to keep product, and always be buying. And if you can't buy something, don't let it get out. Don't let it go to someone that you don't know, because maybe you can't afford it. It goes to your buddy, and then your buddy will pay you back in something that's on your side of the planet, right? Or something he can't afford at the time. So it always works out. Don't just say no. Help that person sell that product. Same thing with garage sales. There's not a garage sale. When I walk up, the first question I ask them is, do you have anything collectible inside you want to sell? Even before I look.
Yep.
There
They're
you
like,
go,
"Wow, no
Dennis.
one's-"
So Ken says he's supposed to go to the show on Thursday at MSG. So why'd you pass up the Deftones show tonight, man?
Because of you.
Thank
Yeah.
you, brother. Thank
This
you.
show, the chat, I did it for you.
That's what I'm
Yep.
talking about.
And I was
That's what I'm
getting,
talking
he was
about.
like, "Oh, hey man, happy anniversary. I got an extra ticket for the Deftones tonight." And I was like, any other night.
Yeah.
God damn it.
It
Is
would have
that
been a good
crazy?
show,
Fuck
my
you,
brother.
Brian.
It's just like when you do go to a Wondercon and like 6 people ask you to dinner on Friday night, and you have to choose that person. So you choose someone else, and they end up going to the same restaurant
place,
you're at.
yes.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah.
That's
I
why
think
you
so
tell them
such
who
and
you're
such is
going
better
with,
than
and
me,
you say the reason I'm going with them is because they asked first. That's what you say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I sold some original like 90s dragon shirts, you know, the ones that go to the past the sleeves for 150. I sold a Darth Maul shirt from 99 for like $200 in like a day on eBay.
Yep.
It's insane, this vintage market.
Yeah.
But the thing is that's what I'm saying about this alliance merger, this acquisition. This is going to open up all types of new avenues to comic shops. It
Big
just
time.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what has to happen is comic shops have to be open to new avenues. I think it's kind of the reverse here, right? So I don't know. Does Alliance only sell new product?
Yeah. They only sell.
Okay.
I believe they might have some vintage stuff, but I don't think it's. I think I haven't really dug in deep on all of their products yet because it's only been a week. But I'll tell you what, and this is a warning out there to the comic book industry. If you guys aren't willing to buy some Alliance stuff to broaden your horizons, I guarantee you I think he said it, there's 3,500 record stores that buy from Alliance. They're goddamn sure as well going to buy some comic book stuff when they start seeing it. And you might see little comic book stores popping up in record stores.
Yeah.
If you're not careful, that record store up the road that you haven't paid attention to because you're not into vintage vinyl or you're not into new vinyl, they might start selling Diamond Select toys. They might start selling those Diamond statues.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know. If you have the opportunity to be a one-stop shop store now, and you've had that opportunity for a long time. But if you keep on passing, at some point people just pass you.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that could happen to a lot of people out there. And granted, it's okay to only want to sell comics. We're not saying to Jeff in Des Moines, Iowa, you can't just sell comics in your comic book store. And that's great. That's wonderful. But the people that are really out there to say, listen, I want to retire in XYZ amount of time, you got to be very diverse. You have to hit demographics that you might never have talked to before. Right. I remember when I was 12 years old going into a comic book store, I didn't actually feel comfortable talking to a 40-year-old at first, and then I understood that, I'm spending money. So obviously they didn't talk to me. And so I always took that in reverse as a 40, 50-year-old selling comics to 12, 15-year-olds. A few times they do come by, I do have to make them feel comfortable in that store. And make them understand that, I'm going to be look drastic on a lot of this stuff, but I'm also have some cool stuff for you as well.
Well, couple interesting things before we get on Dennis's new venture. I want to ask Dennis, did you see the new Spider-Verse versus Venomverse issue that has Japan's Spider-Man in it? A debut of
I did not. Well, that's not the debut. He actually debuted back in Dan Slott put him in a Spider-Man comic before.
This specific one, Takuo Yamashiro.
Does he have the wristband shooter?
So I'm going to show you. Check it out. Tell me if this is the same guy.
No, that's a new one. Okay.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the original, but I think they redid it so they probably wouldn't have to pay the original Japanese artist.
Yeah.
Who designed it.
Uh-huh.
But the face looks very similar.
Yeah, pretty interesting. So you're getting ready to head over to Japan, and I figure that would be interesting to see if you could ask people what they think about that when you're over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
And tonight's episode, it was Ethan, not Cosmic, was saying he just got here because he watched Daredevil, and I just watched it before I came on. Episode 5 is such a sideways episode. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was way better when Spike Lee did the exact same thing 20 years ago Inside Man, and they used the exact same bank.
Wow.
Epic fail, Marvel. You stole the Spike Lee movie for a side quest episode of Daredevil.
Yeah. Everybody that saw that episode has said, like, what were they doing? What are they thinking? Doesn't make any sense. So it is what it is. And another, there's a couple of cool things I want to talk about. I'm going to save one for tomorrow night.
Brian, before you jump into this.
Hold on.
I just want to ask Jesse. Want to ask Jesse one question.
Okay.
Sure.
You've got 40 years. I've got 30 years. Aside from, for me, Avengers #1 movie, Avengers 1, and the final scene, is this not the most exciting time that you've had in comics in 40 years?
I think in my 43 years, the reason why I think this is the most exciting time to sell comics is we have more platforms and we're not oddity anymore. People don't say, oh, he's a comic book fan, he's a nerd. They don't connect that anymore.
Right.
And comic book fans, I think, get a little bit more respect because of the way we collect and the value that we see. The people that watch movies but might not collect comics can now relate to us, right?
Well,
if you're in an office and someone says, "Oh yeah, I saw the Avengers movie," I don't know that question, but Jesse collects comics over there. It's okay now, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm more excited that we're now in a world where we're just normal. We're the normal folks, right?
I gave an interview back in 2010. And the purpose of the interview, I think it's called "The Geek Shall Inherit the Earth." I said Jesus was mistranslated. It wasn't the meek that are going to inherit it, it's the geeks. And we came up and we created such a popular subculture that the jocks that were giving Jesse wedgies and in school then got a Superman tattoo because Shaq got it. And then they had kids, and their kids grew up in our subculture. And they couldn't ignore the fact that they were part of it at that point, and they wanted to be part of it. And that's when we won. When normies, when grandmas were watching Walking Dead instead of soap operas, that's when we won. It's the entire culture that we were shamed for enjoying as kids in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and even those dorks back in the 60s that helped create all this.
Yep.
They were never heralded as the cool person. I mean, shit, Revenge of the Nerds is, even though they win at the end, they were still the nerds.
Right, exactly.
Okay. But now the nerds are in the government. The nerds are the cool people. Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of the smartest people on this planet, and he's a fucking geek. Like us.
Yes.
We won.
Yeah. And it's the notion that we evolved with it too. So not only when we say we evolved in comics, we evolved in the way comics are made, the way comics are distributed, the way comics are sold. the way we can interact with comics.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's this big notion that we will look at probably one of the biggest year in comic sales in 2025. Last year was amazing. Last year was an amazing show and a year for the comic book industry. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that when they report it, they know reporting something good isn't really going to get you views. And sometimes they'll find that nugget where they can go to the far left. And it doesn't inspire people. It makes them walk away. Where the true comic book fan, because you got comic book fans and you got comic book collectors, right?
Yeah.
And the collectors are trying to make that dollar. The comic book fan is trying just to complete their collection. The comic book fan that's trying to complete their collection does not watch YouTube shows.
Yeah.
They work all week. They go into their comic book store. They read their comics. That's as far as they go. If you said key collector, they'd go, what are you talking about? Right. So we can mix both of those now. It's okay for both to be in the same store at once. I didn't see the first collector and a person who was trying to make money on comics in a comic book store to like 93, 94.
Yeah.
We traded books back in the 80s, right? But we never said, oh, this is worth XYZ, because we didn't know prices on stuff. Right? None of us could afford a price guide. I couldn't afford a price guide till I was like 25 years old. I would go into the store and borrow their price guide. Right. And so
gotta remember that too, because there was that was, if you were young collectors like Jesse and I think they were like $10 for or it was like $15 for the hardcover, $10 for the soft cover.
Yeah.
That was 40 books. That was 20 books.
Yep.
But the one guy that you knew that had that book, that price guide, you could call him up and go, hey man, can you look this book up? I just found it at a garage sale.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's $2. I only paid $0.25 for it. Yeah.
Yep. And then you get about halfway through their number and you'd screw it up, and then you'd have to hang up and start again on the rotary to call them. So it was, we just grew right with this. So when we're here today and we're talking about, live streaming, or we're talking about conventions going viral, or what we're doing right now, talking about comics, and we're one of the few industry shows in the world that talk completely about comics from the industry side. There's almost nobody else other than us, but a couple other shows. But because of the experience that we have gone through, the up and downs, I think has been an amazing journey. And to see this year and how much business is going to be done by not just 40 and older folks, it's 15 to 30 that are doing, eBay Live or eBay or whatnot, or IG or whatever. The notion that there's not even a demographic anymore that sells comics.
Well,
that's even cooler.
Let's talk about something special that on Dennis's anniversary, he is opening a new venture. Let's talk about that.
So this is where I'm breaking the news. So 20 years ago yesterday, I opened my first store. I ran it 17 years, like everybody else ran it. 3 years ago today, I opened the new concept store, the retro comic book store. Within 6 months, I knew that was going to be something special, that it worked in concept and in application. And there's only two things you can do when you come across that formula. I mean, you could just run it into the ground and just collect the money, but that's not me. I like to challenge myself. So you try it with either one of two things. You try it with a different genre, or you put it to scale. You see if it works in the exact same way at another place. I was lazy, so I opened up the record and anime store and video games. It worked like gangbusters, so I knew this concept worked. The retro, small pricing, bundle pricing, all of that stuff. I've done a ton of videos on YouTube. You can watch them and hear all my concepts. So it was time for me to prove the other part of that, which is, will this work somewhere else? Maybe Monroe was some kind of special magic where this is the only place that would care about a retro comic book store. So now I got a phone call last fall from the Franklin Park Mall, which is the biggest mall in Toledo, Ohio. Toledo, 10x Monroe population. And they said, hey, we were up visiting the Monroe Mall and we saw your store. We'd love to get something like that down here. And I was like, okay. So after several months of negotiations, we came up with the deal, the offer, and we just got the contract today, and I'll be signing it and giving them the security deposit, and we should be opening the new concept store at the Franklin Park Mall in, and you can see here, I mean, this is not a dead mall. My current store is in a dead mall. This is an active mall that's 95% occupied.
Occupied, yep.
It's got every anchor you could possibly want, except for Macy's, which is closing right now because all Macy's are closing. Which is, once again, back to there's opportunities there. I told them in the negotiation process, hey, I saw Macy's is closing. Can I have access to some of their fixtures? And they're like, absolutely. Come on down. We'll start tagging them. So yeah, I take the keys on May 1st. We will be opening some probably July 1st because it's going to need a little bit more build out than my previous two stores. And it's a bigger store. It's 2,100 square feet.
So are you going to use your Michigan license, or are you going to get a new license in Ohio?
So I've got a federal tax ID number. However, I do have to, just because of their particular rules, I am going to have an Ohio license now.
Right.
So that will take about a month. I'm going to have a Toledo business license. They have a separate licensing for just Toledo proper.
Right.
And then I got to do some more approvals. So that's also why we have a 2-month build out and, paperwork period.
Yeah.
But
wow, that's awesome.
But the thing is now I've proven the comic books work, the Pokemon, the vintage toys, all of that work. I've proven even the Beanie Babies, the Skylanders, whatever. And then I go over to the record store and I'm like, well, vintage vinyl. I'm literally 100 feet from an FYE. I'm 50 feet from a Spencer's, which is where I'm across from right now. But it's a good lesson point too, because I'm like, hey, I talked to the manager over at the Spencer's next to my store, my current store. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about going to Toledo, Franklin Park. And they're like, oh, nice. Where at? I go, right next to Spencer's. And she's like, oh, that's a great location. They do twice as much money as we do. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and that's, Jesse understands that corporate scale. Spencer's is very happy keeping that Monroe store open. So if I'm able to succeed across from that Spencer's, and it's common knowledge that the Toledo Spencer's does twice the volume as the Monroe Spencer's, I'm now right next to possibly double volume for what my store brings.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus you can accessorize. So Spencer's accessorizes. So their month is Wonder Woman. Well, guess what? One of your windows is Wonder Woman. I mean, you gotta, comics is accessorizing. And if you can accessorize comics, you're in fantastic
But see,
shape.
that's what I do already. I knew the Superman movie was coming and I could buy tons of cheap Superman merchandise. I knew the Jurassic Park movie was coming. I bought tons of Jurassic dinosaurs to capitalize on that. You've got to be looking at the trend up there. You can't wait until the trend's on you.
Yep. You got to be way trend is, trend is a great topic, because if you know the trend, that means you're behind the trend, right? You should know the trend before it becomes the trend.
Yeah.
And your catalogs, when you're doing catalog buying from wholesalers, they're literally telling you what's hot. And you got to be able to recognize that, wow, They've never had Beanie Babies in here. Oh, I don't carry Beanie Babies. Next page, where you have to say, wait a minute, why are there Beanie Babies in here?
Yep.
And you always have to be asking, okay, what is the reason? Who is doing it? Right. And that will always get you ahead of trend. But if you come out today and you say, oh, the trend is this, you're not going to make it, because by the time you get the stuff in your store, you're beyond the.
And no offense to Brian, there's too many people who look at your top 10 list, the hot 10, and they're like, oh shit, I got to get on that book. You're too late.
You're a week too late. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The thing is you better have already been on that, because if not, you're buying sideways. You're buying
3 years ago, you had about a month, to maybe make some money off that book.
Yeah.
Now you have 2 or 3 days after it comes out, especially if it's a Wednesday Warrior book. If it's on the hot 10 already, there's very few books that, it's not going to wait for you to stay hot. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you got to learn not to chase. I mean, that's the first thing. You never chase something. If you're going to chase something, that's hey, Diamond, how many Walking Dead 175s do you have? It's going to be, I'll just take them all.
Yeah.
Right. You got to buy it all so you can control the trend a little bit.
Absolutely.
Right. But if you're just buying one or two, I mean,
well, it's like that Jim Lee the Suit book that I bought. I could have easily just bought a couple of them, but I said, you know what? Let me buy all of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And because of that, I control what little left that market there is still left.
Yep.
Right. So your store, let me ask you this. What do you, if I was to ask you today, what counters and displays and shelving do you have for that store today? Or are you buying stuff up there to put in there at that time?
So right now, I wasn't planning for this one. I've got an entire build out in my movie theater that I was preparing for the for the movie theater. Which, I bought out 2 Kmart jewelry counters, and I'm using one of them currently at Dystopia. I still have enough to do that, but I kind of want more glass display cases. As the economy gets more desperate, people start stealing. I've caught enough shoplifters in my lifetime to realize it's easier to have. I have cheap stuff. If you steal it, I'm not going to cry if it goes. But the expensive stuff, I want it all locked down from now on. So I would say I've got 25% of the fixtures that I want for this new location, and I'll probably get the other 75 from Macy's and from a couple other stores that are there with extra fixtures. I've got my my builder building me brand new custom cases for the Pokemon cards, because it's become such a giant portion of my business here. And there's a lot more gaming stores in Toledo than there are anywhere near me right now. I want to hit the ground running with all of my best SKUs, all my best departments, firing on all of the cylinders the second we open. So I want to have twice as many Pokemon cards in this new store on display. I want to have maybe 50% more retro comic books. I'm going to put video games in there, but I'm probably only going to put about 50% of what I have currently. I'm going to put anime and manga probably at the exact same amount as I have now. The extra space, I'm going to fill it all. Right. And then the entire back of the store, and Brian will be very happy about this, as all the people who have visited my vintage warehouse, my movie theater warehouse, know I have an insane amount of vintage toys. And I will have G.I. Joes, I'll have Transformers, I'll have Star Wars, I'll have all of that stuff. I'm going to have giant glass display cases created for that. And it's going to be like the back of the store is going to be like a time tunnel.
That's awesome.
Going into it. And it's going to be nothing but vintage toys.
Yep.
Nostalgia, baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Sell that nostalgia.
It's the most dangerous drug.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, to go back on your question, where we are today. I used to go into Brass Armadillo, which is a huge.
I love
place in
every time I
Arizona. Yeah.
visited my father, I had him take me there.
Huge, about 900 dealers in there. And when I first started going in there, I would just race through all 900, right, to find that case that had comics. Nope,
Yep.
nope. Now I almost have to look into every case.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because my eyes are looking at everything now
Yeah.
as what I can sell, what my consumer will want.
You've got to be like a Terminator.
Exactly.
Little thing that I can buy for $5 and sell for 20.
You actually almost get dizzy going right loud,
Yeah.
looking at everything, and then making those conscious decisions on where does that go in the store? When do I pivot? If you open up a new store, folks, we know after 30 days, you're pivoting almost your whole store. Because you're like, oh, this is the way I thought it was going to sell. No. Now we got to pivot because this is what actually sells.
Yep. Yeah. Every time you think something is going to happen, you got to shift it. Let's just, you look at your wall after 6 months.
Yeah.
What did you say? 3 months or 6 months?
I said 3 months. So
I like 6.
Okay.
It's easier for me.
Yeah.
But you look at what, and you're like, holy shit. Okay. That didn't sell. That didn't sell. That didn't sell. That didn't sell. All right. Take all of that down. Oh, wait, next to it, everything was turning way better. All right, cool. Get rid of this. Shift this a little bit more over this way. And now you've got 75% of this and 25% of this. And it's that simple.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ken for the
$4.99
$4.99 super chat. He says, good luck, Dennis. So there you go.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a serious question, though. So I talked to my kids. And but I want to ask you guys, because we've been gone over a lot of knowledge on this show, and as everybody in the chat knows, and Jesse and I talk about constantly, what is your brand? I now have 2 brands. I have Wonderworld and I have Dystopia. This new concept store is a combination of both of those and adding vintage toys. Do I start a 3rd brand?
I'd call it Wonderworld.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you do have 3 brands because you're a brand yourself.
Well, yeah. I know.
Yeah. So, the thing is, it all comes down to marketing. If you market Wonderworld, but then you're marketing this, what was the name of it? Dystopia.
Dystopia.
If you're marketing that, that's sending to 2 people in 2 different directions. So do you get more business by sending people in 2 different directions or one organized direction? And I think that's what you want to look at for branding wise. What is your flagship? If I said to you, what is your flagship? It's going to be Wonderworld, right? Because it's 30 years of branding. So you have to add Dystopia to that, but not relinquish the actual brand, the actual flagship. That's very, very important. Nordstrom has Nordstrom, and then they have Nordstrom Rack, but no one at Nordstrom works at Nordstrom Rack. No one at Nordstrom Rack works at Nordstrom.
Right, but think about the company that owns Olive Garden and Red Lobster.
Yep.
Until they filed bankruptcy that one time, nobody knew that the same company owned both of them.
Right. Because I think those brands are, first of all, they sell different product altogether.
But Dystopia and Wonderworld sell completely. There's not, except for Skylanders, there's not one product that I sell at both.
Right. But wouldn't you say that both are collectible stores?
Yes, but Wonderworld is a comic brand. Why would I use that with Dystopia? That's why we created the new brand for Dystopia.
Right. I think you still need to have some connection to it, only because people that are fans of Wonderworld will be excited that they have something else now.
So just get rid of the comic books then off of Wonderworld and use just Wonderworld as the brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And that's how you do it. My brand is myself because I'm Jesse James. I'm Jesse James Comics. I never say, hey, I'm Jesse James Comics. I just say I'm Jesse James. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's being universal with your consumer, and they're not confused. They're still technically buying from the same company. They just have now more to buy from and more places to buy from. And I think that's very interesting. We live in a world where distance does not matter. If you're in Alaska, you can buy from the guy in Florida. It's immaterial.
I think Wonderworld is a great brand for
Yeah.
a great name for what your brand is. That nostalgia based, all that stuff is Wonderworld.
Yeah,
is a
no,
good name
I
for it.
agree. It's just a question that I have to ask myself: is the Wonderworld brand the brand, or can you create an infinite number of brands to kind of spin off into their own universes, especially with the distance?
I have Just James Comics and I have Comic Book Shopping Network. It's
right.
It's how you work it. It's your vision, and can you get your vision out to your consumer that you're just evolving. You're not shrinking, you're actually evolving. If you go to Wonderworld, you're a different customer. No, you're still one customer. And I think that's what you kind of want to look at. Your kids, which are a different generation, or which are more faster, they think faster, they're in the AI world.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to ask me the question. They're then grab their phone and ask their phone the question, even though I'm standing right
absolutely.
there. Right? Yeah, I tell this story. Shannon wanted to get ice cube trays. We're over at Dollar General, which is next door to Just James Comics. We walk over. She looks at the ice trays, and I say, "Okay, are we then get these?" "Oh no, I already ordered them on Amazon." And I'm like, "But we're standing right here." "Well, yeah, but Amazon will have it to us by the end of the night." So we work in this different world, and we have to understand that we have to evolve with that trend.
Yeah.
Not forget about your traditional customers, but the trend is you're always evolving with new customers.
No, right? Absolutely. I see all the sides of it. It's just a matter of, I just wanted a little more validation before I go forward with this. Because I love the Wonderworld name. I mean, when you look up Wonderworld Comics, you get the old vintage 30s and 40s, and you get me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Look at. I remember the day Square sent me this machine, and I said, "What's this machine?" And they go, "Oh, the guy just taps the card." I'm like, "Well, how do I know it's his card?" Right? And so we refused to do it. I'm like, "There's no way." "Oh no, you're covered on every tap."
Yeah.
Don't wait. No, we refused.
Did you know the tap has 2 extra levels of encryption more than the slide or
by
swipe?
Yeah, exactly, because it's the wallet and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And but what I started to notice was younger folks would walk up to pay, and they'd have their phone out. Yeah. And they put their I'm like, "What are you doing?" "Oh,
they do it with their watches too."
Yeah, exactly, with their watches. Yeah. So we have to evolve. We have to evolve and maintain, right? We have to maintain that customer that doesn't want to evolve, and then we have to take care of that customer that wants to evolve. So we're kind of in this world that we got to do both. And as retailers, that's the challenge. If I go out and buy stuff, if I fill up your truck and I bring that truck back, who's pricing that stuff? Who's looking that stuff up, right? Everything's a cycle. And if you get these daily rhythms down, this business is extremely, extremely easy. But I do like the comment that someone made about, I'm tired of listening to people saying the industry is down. It's not. New issues is down. But the rest of the industry,
you know what, though? I'll say, I will. So as everybody knows, my son works at my buddy's comic book store where he goes to college. And I was hearing hints and rumors that Hush was not selling like retailers thought it was.
No.
As well as Absolute Martian Manhunter. However, he corrected me on that. He said, "Oh no, it was bringing people in that hadn't been in since the last Hush came out, which was like 20 years ago." So, new comics can, if they do it right, new comics can still blow things up.
You know what's selling?
The ash can that Jesse James got at MegaCon.
Got the 40 copies, figured it out, right? So it was very plain and simple. If you buy a DC comic, you get this ash can for free. So what do people do in front of me? They're grabbing like 20 DC comics, and they're walking up to get their DC Hush. book.
Yep.
2. I'm like, I'll take this one Flash. 10 minutes later, yeah, I'll take this one Batman.
Yeah.
You gotta work the system. You gotta work the system.
Yeah.
And which is crazy because they already have their next con coming out. I forgot what the con is. And they already have the stuff, the variants you can, the exclusives you can buy signed and graded. So it doesn't matter how we think it is, it works for them. Their notion is if you can't make it to a expo, we got you. Listen, that's the way of the world. So I think it's very cool. I'm excited about your new store. I'm excited that you're excited.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I've talked to several people before when they're opening up their second store, and they're not even excited about it.
No. Well, for me, it's the challenge. It really is, because here's the thing. Brian, I know you get all kinds of comments like, oh, that fucking blowhard Dennis. Oh, fuck. Dude, I don't give a shit anymore. But if I think there's a better way to make the wheel, a better way to make the mousetrap, I can bitch about the old mousetrap all I want. But if I don't put my money where my mouth is, you know, I just made a video about you can open a comic book store for $20,000 and how I think you can do it. Literally, that math still works for this store if I wanted to. I just happen to have a couple $1 million worth of inventory sitting in a movie theater that I can use as well.
Yep.
You know, and that's the thing is this is a challenge. And when you get to a certain levels, you have to challenge yourself. And you know what? I'm going to be a dick right now. Diamond didn't challenge itself. A lot of these stores that Jesse has bought out and that I have bought out didn't challenge themselves. You have to constantly be challenging yourself to be the best person you are.
Yep. Yeah, people only give up when they're not inspired and given hope by Diamond or whoever to keep on going. You know, and it's funny. I always say this when I'm talking to people. No matter what I hear today from a retailer, there's nothing that they say today that what the retailer that I worked for in 1983 wasn't saying then. It's all the same. Now, prices are different, right?
Yeah.
But everything else is the same. Frickin' distributor. Bricks are too expensive. What is this? You know, there's not enough pages. The writing sucks, right? Nothing.
I remember, Jesse, do you remember when it went from like 32 pages to like 28 pages?
Yeah.
And everybody thought, and now we're at 22 pages.
Yeah.
And and a couple of them are splashes that don't mean anything.
Right.
You know, and those are the little things that aren't worth getting into the weeds over.
Right, exactly. And not realizing that the 32 pages that went to 28, they just eliminated the marketing pages. So you still got the same amount. It's just you didn't have those, hey, buy the 8-foot tall Frankenstein, which one day we should do a show on all that product, because I think that product is interesting. It sells for quite a bit. You'll be surprised on when you got those army soldiers and they're only like 1/10 inch wide, right? And so the gimmick stuff and all that. But yeah, it was always the same. The biggest day that I remember of the most hardest day in comic book history for me was the day comics went from 50 cents to 55 cents. Because when the 12-year-old kid came in with $1, he could now only buy one comic. He could no longer buy 2 comics. And that little 5-cent changed immediately how we sold books. Right. And obviously then the prices started going up. And we all know once it started saying still only, we knew there was going to be a price hike. And so that's always evolved the same as well. So it's been an interesting ebb and flow, but it has all been the same conversation. You know, obviously AI is new and that's a completely different subject. But I think we're in a world where you can enjoy comics, you can sell and make a lot of money doing comics, You can watch people sell comics and have just as fun. I can't tell you how many people in my room that are on every single show. I'm on my 1,845th show tonight.
Dude, that's epic. That's epic.
Yeah. And I've had people on the show. DK has been in my show forever. He's a longtime binger. But I've had people on at least 1,000 shows that have never bought an item from me, but they're in every show. And when someone new comes in, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I've been with Jesse for 10 years now." I'm like, "Well, you buy something, but that's okay, right? Because you want to create this community that doesn't have to buy and can have fun with the people that are buying comics."
Swag has a really interesting take on live selling and how it's changed comics. He says and this is I'm giving a little a look into a podcast that we filmed today that you'll be seeing soon on Swag's channel. But he talked when we were at the con, we were talking just bullshitting with each other, and he said, I go to the con now and I look at dealers' booths and everything, and they just seem so uninterested. And I think that comes from, I watch, like these eBay live sales, these whatnot sales, and I'm sitting in my bed at night watching them, and these guys are showing me every single part of the book, saying what they think is wrong with it, why the reason the book is good, why you should buy it, why they love it. And they're doing all this stuff. And I go to a con and the dealers could care less but to tell me about a book, So
the best, I guarantee you, the best selling I ever did was when I did Whatnot. I was personally engaged. I had that extra time. Jesse understands this. When you have a customer in your face in front of you at a con or at a store, you got less than 3 seconds to grab their attention for that book. Okay. But if they know that you've got 30 seconds to explain what this comic is and 30 seconds of bidding after you say go, you've got a minute. You don't get a minute to sell a customer in store. You don't. It's a different beast altogether.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And keep in mind, when someone buys a big book in your store, we don't really have I'm going to say the rights to say this. That's not the right word, but we're not going to yell out, "Hey, Dennis just bought this $1,000 book. Everybody in the store."
Actually, you know what? I have. And some of the customers.
I'm sure you have.
No, because to me, here's the thing. That's an event for them. The first time I bought a $10 comic book in my life, that was the most important comic book to me, when I had $10 to spend on Avengers 16 with the bottom 1/8 missing and, just the piece of shit book it was. That was the most important comic book that I had bought that day. Right. And when I saw, we had a kid come in last week and he bought a stack of books, 100 books. And on top was a $25 silver McFarlane Spider-Man #1. And I'm like, oh man, dude. Hey, Ty, kid's buying a McFarlane Spider-Man #1. Good job.
Yep.
That validated his purchase.
Right. But that doesn't happen with every customer. So the notion is when you're doing a live show and you do buy something for whatever, $50, and everybody in that room is like, good job. Great job. Oh my gosh, good buy.
It's a different beast. It's just a different beast, and I love it.
So you get to be a entertainer. It's hard to, and I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly, but in the comic book store world, you're going to see if you carry new issues, you're going to see your customer 52 times a year, right? And then you're going to see them on Free Comic Book Day, Halloween Fest, your anniversary day. So you're going to see them about 60 times a year. But it's hard to be entertaining all 60 times because sometimes you're helping a customer and the only thing you can say is, "Hey, Jeff, how you doing? We'll see you next week." Okay, see you later. Yep. Or you're engaged. If like my show is 12:30 a.m. to 3 a.m. I have to be engaged from 12:30 a.m. to 3 a.m. Doesn't matter what the book I'm showing.
Or 2:30 when you pass out on the floor.
Yeah, if I pass out during the show. But you have every book is entertaining because a lot of people, you show a crazy book that no one's seen, people go nuts.
It's not just that, Jesse. Also, when you're begging for that 3 seconds with the customer in front of you at a store or at a convention, okay, that's you and that one customer.
Right, exactly.
But now
exactly.
you have 100 customers' attention and you have 60 seconds to sell. You're going to find one of them, hopefully 2 of them, that want that book if you explain it right, if you sell it right. You know what I'm saying? And all you need is 2 good customers that want that book. You don't get that option at a store. 2 people don't come in and fight over a wall book. You know?
Exactly. Well, one of the cool things about this is, people always ask me why put pictures and why put descriptions, because I want my sale to last forever. I want people to know that I sold ROM 17 for $6. And when you do a blind show, and that's fine. I'm not saying people don't do blind shows. Fine. You got everybody does it except for me.
I hate those sellers.
But
fuck
that can't stay in any type of file on eBay. It's just going to say live show 6, item 9.
Right.
So if you sell a ROM 17 for $26, we'll never then know. Right. So it's crazy how you're creating that sell in the moment, but then you're also creating a lifetime image for that comic book. And I think that's very interesting. Everything's a business, right? And if you think in business platforms, it makes sense on how you
know what I love? I love the fact that our chat is fucking amazing. And you got people in the chat talking about great books like this. Three Rivers Comics is talking about a book called Mail Order Mysteries, Real Stuff from Old Comic Book Ads, which is a hardcover, and he's telling Blind Adam about it so Blind Adam can buy it. That's what I love. I love when our community is talking in the chat to other community members, helping them find cool things. Shout out to the chat and every single show that I do. It's absolutely amazing. Appreciate you guys. You know what I also love? I also love finding out about new.
Oh, I thought you were going to say weed.
That's obvious. I love finding out about new YouTube channels, and there's a new YouTube channel called "Bring the Magic Back" podcast by the Jeppies. Shout out to Josh and Gina, who are starting a new Disney-based podcast, which is pretty freaking awesome.
So Jesse, do you want to give a little background? Because you're almost in the family. You're like cousin.
I talked to Josh today about his show, and I'm just excited that the Jeppy family is able to move on into this great thing that they love. They are Disney. Literally, I'm telling you guys, I was at lunch with Josh, and like the manager came over, the general manager came over, the waitress didn't even was nervous to serve us. They came, and then when we're checking out, he's like, "Well, you got like," and I'm paraphrasing here, "You got 400 million points."
They're at Disney all the time. They live Disney.
Nah, we don't want to use it right now.
There was such a feud going on with Josh and I over pineapple Dole Whips. That every time he would get a Dole Whip, and he's shaking his head right now too. Look, it's almost like he's live listening to me. And he'd be like, Dennis, I'm here at Disney, and guess what I got? A Dole Whip. Oh, it's so pineapple-y. And it was just, it's like, dude, and he did that. And so once San Diego, they actually have a Dole Whip stand at San Diego Beach that I had some of my friends from San Diego, and they got Dole Whips, put them on in a cooler on ice, and brought them down to Comic-Con for us to have Dole Whips at San Diego in front of Josh.
Yeah.
I was in LA or Anaheim this weekend for WonderCon, and me and Leg got lost in the Disney resorts. We went to there's a tiki bar there. Shout out to Dinesh. We went to meet up with Dinesh at the tiki bar, and after the tiki bar, me and Leg got lost trying to get out of this place. And the reason we got lost is because everywhere you look on the resort, there's all these amazing old Disney memorabilia all over the place, and we're just stopping and looking. Like I came across this big, massive like model set of is it Thunder Mountain Railroad, Rocky Mountain Railroad, and
It's Thunder Mountain.
it was my favorite thing as a kid going to Disneyland. Me and my mom loved that little roller coaster.
Yep.
And I immediately saw it and I went, holy cow. And I had to go over and get a big, huge video of it to send to my mom.
Yep.
And we were walking out of this place and I told Leg, I go, man, I don't care what anybody says. I make fun of Disney fans. But Disney, this place is magical. This place, you feel like you're in another world and you feel warm, you feel comfortable, you feel there's something about being there that is just, they put you in another mindset being around Disney. It's unbelievable how it works. I don't know what it is. I don't know exactly what it is, if it's nostalgia or what, but you feel great. You feel like you're in another world, and that's the magic. And I love seeing this, bring the magic back, and I think that's a cool podcast. And of course, there's a lot of Disney fans out there, and you grow up around Disney. It's kind of shout out to Brian Wood and Simple Man's Comics, who's him and his wife are huge Disney people. Shout out to Sith Lordley and Spinetix and his wife. They're huge Disney people.
Clownfish TV. That's how they got into the YouTube space.
Yeah. So
It's a topic that everybody can relate to, whether you went as a very young kid or you watched the movies as a young kid. I think it's part of our culture. It's part of our tradition. I think too many people focus on their profits and this or forget about that. That's not really up for you to do. You're either then enjoy it or you're not. We have Disney Springs up here, which is absolutely free, right? And you drive up there. It's technically the drive is 30 minutes, but it's about an hour and a half because of traffic, and it's awesome. The Disney Springs is awesome. You get to partake and everything. So I think at the end of the day, to see Josh really having fun in this video. I'm watching his hands right now, and those are happy. Trust me, those are happy hands.
Yeah.
Right? So so I'm very proud of him that this is one thing with Josh is he's always wanted to do something away from comics, and I think this actually allows him to do that now.
Well, I mean, the family owns Gemstone, and one of the most famous Disney off-brands. There's a lot of places for them to move that space. As one door closes, another opens.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Wednesday will be a good day for them. But it's all about getting out there and talking about what you like to talk about. And I have some buddies that do podcasts that actually do comics, and they hate comics. I'm like, why are you doing comics, dude? I can see it in your video. You don't like comics, right?
But that's that grifter middleman, mentality.
Right, exactly. Well, a lot of people
talk about comics because they're trying to make money off of comics. That's it.
Right. Yeah, and they think they should do it because I think what happens is a lot of people think, oh, they can do this. This is easy. It's not easy.
No. Because first of all, I think half of them are very inauthentic, and I say it all the time. You have to be authentic, and if Jesse can smell you're not a fan, the audience out there can smell you're not a fan.
Right, exactly. And I think we should always be coaching and talking about. I think where we get hurt on is when someone does talk about Amazing Spider-Man 300, but it's only about its value. We need to know why. They
don't know the joy of going to their mailbox and finding that folded subscription copy in the mailbox. And the first time you open that, you were like, oh my God, this is the greatest anniversary issue since like Avengers 200.
Right, exactly.
And opening that folded comic book and opening it up, because it was literally when they shipped those things in the mail, the mailman would just fold that shit in half and shove it right in your box. And that's what she said. And then you open that up and you're just like, every page was like, oh God, this is something special.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny if you took a customer who only shopped in a store that sold new issues and you took them to a store that sold back issues, they would walk in and they would say, literally, they would say to you, what's that smell?
Yeah.
They have no idea about the ultimate comic book smell, right?
Yeah.
Smell test and all that stuff. There are so many ways to enjoy comics. Today we're talking about Mark Girols all day on a post with a whole bunch of people, and just giving information about Mark Girols that people in the post had no idea about. And I think that's the world I would like to see us continue to do. And I hope a lot of content creators understand that they can give more by educating people a little bit more on comic book lore, comic book history, our culture, our tradition. You got to keep in mind, I'm not going to call it our greatest generation of store owners, but pretty much are all retiring. They're all at the age of retirement. Me and Dennis are kind of the new generation, right? But that old generation, the 60s, 70s, the 80s guys, they're just about ready to call it quits.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's there's a lot of people that get to that page and at the age or for whatever reason, and they're ready to be out. So
Yep. Yeah, it's hard to. It's kind of like when you look in the Overstreet and you look in the back at the 80 Overstreet advisors, which only 20 of us actually work. But you see some of them have their high school pictures still in there from like 30 years ago. It's like, dude, can you change your picture? What are you doing? But yeah, I think it's great. I think the person that decides to stay technically sound in the comic book world is cool. But I think the traditional comic book collector reads their comics, puts it in their box, waits another 30 days for that next issue to come out. It's pretty interesting. And if you go to a convention, especially when you get to the Silver Age and the Golden Age collector, they all look the same.
Yeah.
All got gray hair, gray beards. They got their paper checklists, right?
God, those are the best.
Yeah.
Digging through your dollar boxes for 5 hours to find 2 or 3 books on their list.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. On the list. That is crazy.
Good stuff, man. That's
I think
nostalgia right there.
Yeah, exactly. So when you talk about WonderCon, did you walk the whole floor?
Oh yeah, multiple times.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
How much of it was Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze back issues?
Most of it was vintage as compared to modern. Okay. Yes. Very few moderns. I will say this. The Unknown Comics booth was much smaller than normal.
When you got to carry all those by yourself,
Yeah, through the elevator. That's a challenge.
There was very few major modern guys as compared to normal. Most of the stuff was vintage that I saw. So yeah, it was back issues, pretty back issue heavy. There was a lot of people searching through back issues. There was some really good, a couple of really good deal places where you could get good stuff for cheap. Yeah, it was a good con overall. It wasn't a bad. I don't think it was a bad con.
Did you? Well, you don't do a lot of cons, so you wouldn't be able to say, "Oh yeah, those are the normal guys, like the Harley Yees and all that."
It was there.
Yeah. So, tell us about Artist Alley a little bit.
Artist Alley was great. A lot of people at Artist Alley. A lot of course, a lot of who's the not Scott's Collectibles, but the other group that has all the artists and the creators, and they set up and they have a big table of them, comic sketch art or something like that.
Clan McDonald,
Clan
No,
McDonald. Yeah.
no, not Clan
No.
McDonald. Somebody else. Comic sketch art or something like that.
sketched something, right?
Yeah. They were there. They had a bunch of people. I found a bunch of new artists that I like that I've talked to. There's a couple of guys that I talked to that I'm gonna introduce them to some people to hopefully get them to do some variants and get into the variant world, because I know it'll help them. There was a lot of people, talking about the stuff that we talk about every week. So it was a good con. Because Mark's in chat right now, one thing I will say is, Mark, you're crazy if you don't think you're not going to San Diego this year. That's all I'll say. You are 100%, whether you like it or not, you're going to be dragged to San Diego, my friend, because it is going to be massive for you. And I think Alabama will show you that. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Mark tomorrow on the phone. I'm going to have a long conversation with him because I had a lot of people come up to me and talk to me about stuff that Mark was involved in that they're excited for. Of course, Clutch debuted the Zartan book that he did with Mark, and it sold out, which is a good thing. I think he might have a few more copies left, but most of what he put up online sold out, and then I think what he brought to the con, most of it sold out.
Right.
So that was a good thing. Everybody was talking about that. Variant wise, there wasn't the only real variants that I saw a lot of people talking about were the Brett Booth Spawn book, Mark's book, the Zartan book. And that's about it. I mean, supposedly there was a Stephen Platt foil Wolverine, variant that they redid. That famous Stephen Platt Wolverine variant where he's got the claws through the skull. Supposedly they did a foil at Wondercon, but I didn't even hear about it. So that was very surprising to me. So you could test that things are changing a little bit. It was a good con, man. It was a great con.
Can I tell you a funny thing? Because
Dennis, before you go real fast, John, I'm not on tonight. Tuesdays, I'm always dark on eBay Live.
There we
go ahead. Yep.
So my son tonight we were watching Daredevil. Was like, "Oh, Dad, guess what? The internet's blowing up because the Switch 2 trailer comes out tomorrow night."
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "And there's going to be a location in Japan where you can test play the Switch 2 while we're over there." And I was like, "Okay, yeah. Is that going to have 1 million people online? Maybe. So is that something like if we just left you there, we can go do something else?" And he's like, "I don't know." So yeah, dude, everybody has a different excitement level for stuff. My son wants to see a trailer for a video game system and wants to play it and wait and kill an entire day in Japan to play a Switch 2 before anybody else in America.
Yeah, what is isn't there like a 2-year where it comes out in Japan and then it's 2 years before it could come to the United States?
I think it's going to launch almost instantly around the world.
Okay.
I heard.
Okay. Yeah, I think on some product there's a time span. It might be just technology.
I think a lot of the games will come out over there before they come out over here. But I think the systems are all going to launch at the same time.
There is a movie coming out. Where the heck did they put that? I'll have to find it and let you guys know.
Well, let's actually talk about this right now while we're talking. At CinemaCon, they have a special Superman presentation, and if you guys watch Film Threat had an insider in the sneak preview for Superman, the James Gunn Superman, and apparently it's spectacular. So they're talking that this might actually be the game changer that DC has needed.
So I've heard the opposite or the same thing, but about a different movie. I've heard that about Fantastic Four. That Fantastic Four is a banger. Absolutely amazing. It's what Marvel needed.
Yeah. Do you remember when Mike Tyson was going through his kind of slump? the Buster Douglas, post
Mhm.
Buster Douglas years. And everybody was waiting for that one big fight where Mike
Holyfield
came
fight.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of think that's where we're at right now, because Marvel's been in a slump for, post Endgame. And DC I never thought DC had really been a contender to fight Marvel at a fair. But the fact that these two are going to come out and we're going to get a real fight between two people at their prime, and the fact that they've gone back to the source material, Marvel's first family versus DC's first hero.
Yeah.
That is the thriller in Manila
Mhm.
to me.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's going to be a
Yep.
big deal.
Speaking of that, I was talking to Brian today. I have been binge watching the Submariner TV show from the 60s.
Last month I just got a complete set of all the VHSs.
Did you? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that I am enjoying them. I'm really it's the art sucks, but I am enjoying going back and watching that type of stuff.
But see,
Yeah.
I don't hold the art against him. To me, like remember when they did Planet of the Apes in that same style?
Yeah.
Where it was just the comic book cutouts and they just kind of moved around, and every once in a while an ape's mouth would, it would be a still image. Well, where are you going there? And to me, that's nostalgia, man. I have a nostalgia for that.
Yeah, totally.
Because that's all we had.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we had. We had that, Wonder Woman and the Hulk. That was it.
Yeah.
And then Superman came out.
Yeah,
John, it came out mid 60s. Stan Lee actually introduces every show. It's just very interesting.
That's where the famous Spider-Man song comes from. Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Yeah, I actually picked these up this weekend. So that's the VHS for Amazing Spider-Man.
But that's
Iron
not
Man.
that's not the
90s
60s ones.
stuff.
That's
No,
the
these aren't the
90s stuff.
60s. These
Yeah.
are the 90s, Captain America and Thor. So I picked all those up. So yeah, great stuff. But yeah, John, if it's on YouTube, it's free. It's 20 episodes. I'm on episode 11. So
aren't they putting all that on Disney Plus eventually too?
Oh, I'm sure they will. They should. I think
it's our heritage. It's our history.
Yeah. And I think it's just go ahead.
Another great YouTuber who I met at Wondercon is in the chat. Still only 5 cents. What's up, brother? He has a great channel on YouTube. And he's from Australia. He's originally from the UK, but he lives in Australia now. And him and his partner came out. I don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend, so I don't want to mess it up. But they came out from Australia to go to WonderCon, which blew me away. I mean, it was awesome to hear. And he came up and said hello to me and Swag and introduced himself. Super cool guy. I subbed up to his channel. If you guys get a chance, check out his channel. It's called it's still only 35 cents. And he's got such a great name to me, and his logo. He handed me a sticker, and it's the old school school thing right here, And it was like, this is so smart. So shout out to him.
Yeah.
And I also want to shout out Big Clutch's partner, who has a podcast, a YouTube channel also that's based on D&D called I Seduce the Dragon podcast. It's her and I believe 3 other girls that are D&D fans, and they have it says for the name of the show, a rocket scientist, a cowgirl, a porn star, and a mom walk into a dungeon, and those are just the players. I Seduce the Dragon is a bi-weekly actual play Dungeons and Dragon podcast, brilliantly produced and sound designed with the non-player in mind. And that's, I mean, I knew she had a podcast, but Clutch didn't, kind of talked about it, and it blew me away. So shout out to I Seduce the Dragon, and it's still only 35 cents. 2 more new podcasts that I subbed to this week. So really good stuff.
Yeah, it's great to communicate with these. For instance, I was doing my show on Saturday night, and James over at Hive had everybody come raid my show, and we sold all 306 items. The second they came in, everything that was left sold. So engaging in other people's pages, doing some raids and having fun, engaging, I think is part of building a good community. We should have a community of content creators, just not content creators.
I agree.
Because we have that in the comic book world, right? So
yeah, but that's the thing is there's so much good crossover between that. The stuff that we can learn from different communities on here and the way they engage their audiences and the way we engage our audience, etc. You know, that's where you learn the bigger tent. It's the wider tent. It's the rising tide lifting all boats.
Yeah.
That's how we save this comic book industry, not by buying more from one publisher or the other, not by getting 1,000 to get a variant. You know, you build it by explaining why this is the culture that everyone should be watching, or that culture or another culture.
Right, exactly. And you know, if you look at forums, there's 900 comic book retailer forums, and everybody's has different discussion trees in them. So we just can't bring it together. I think that's what happens. We have a lot of personalities, a lot of egos, a lot of laid back people that are like, well, it is what it is. And if we can bring it together by everybody helping other people to subscribe even to their Facebook page, right? Or to their Instagram. It's very important to get out there. And then your comic book fans, you're a comic book fan. The people that follow you everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you go on and you post whatever, Rob Liefeld joined this page, your fans are going to join that page, right? Fans are very, comic book fans are very loyal to retailers and people that sell comic books. Unless you don't ship their product, then it's a little bit different story.
Yeah, that's no good.
But at the end of the day, they are very loyal, and you should be loyal to them. And you shouldn't be, you know, I think there's this notion we're afraid to tell people about other places, other comic book stores, or other podcasts. You should never feel that. You should never feel insecure about what we do. That's what makes this business great. I think we introduce people to the industry that traditionally they never get to hear about, the actual inside of being in the trenches in the industry, which is extremely tough.
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff, you guys. Great show tonight. We have a big day coming up tomorrow, so I want to keep everybody's eyes on you know, the news that hopefully will happen tomorrow, where the sale of Diamond will be finalized. If that happens, we should be putting, as soon as that happens, we get the okay, we'll put out the interview again as its own little thing. And again, another reason to try and catch the live shows if you can.
Yep.
Sometimes things might have to be taken out for whatever reason, but if you watch the live shows, you will always catch the true shows. But for everybody that isn't able to catch the live shows, thank you so much to you. And for those of you guys that weren't able to see the interview in its entirety, be on the lookout for that as soon as the sale is finalized. Jesse, what do you got coming up, my friend?
All right. So we already know we got socks. That's old news. We have Harry Potter homemade cooking books, Alice in Wonderland, Ghostbusters, Disney Enchanted recipes. I have like 30 different things from there, but we were the first show to sell boxers for The Simpsons. We sold out. We got one box left, so we're going to be putting that on tomorrow night. I also want to suggest something to folks I just discovered. A lot of us ship, and we're always trying to figure out what the right size boxes are. I have figured this out, folks. I have been shipping books now for 15, 16 years, 500,000 packages. We just a great shipping business. 12 by 9 by 4. 12 by 9 by 4 has now become the best box to ship for sizes. I tried 12 by 9 by 6, but it had a little bit extra space. 12 by 9 by 4. So that is my tip of the day.
Jesse, where do you buy your boxes from?
I am getting mine from Amazon now because they're just cheaper.
Let me give you a tip.
Okay, where at?
There are box manufacturers in every state. I have APAC Paper and Box. They designed my own long
APAC?
box, APAC Paper and Box. They're up here in Michigan, but there's probably a local Florida box manufacturer.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yep.
They bring me pallets. They bring me bundles. I get all my Pelspan from there. The cheapest price on Pelspan packing peanuts that you can ever find. But they can do designs for special stuff. My Wonder Box, Brian, that I brought out for you, that was made by those guys. So always find your local paper and box manufacturers because they can shave 20 cents, 50 cents off of Amazon's box price every time.
Yep. So the whole point is whatever you see that you can buy, you will have someone that or sell, someone will buy it from you.
My warehouse carries 30 different box sizes, for shipping.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, so we're very excited. We'll be back tomorrow. I will be looking at my, hopefully our new store tomorrow morning at 10:30. Which is about a mile up the street. It's 3,300 square feet. Most of them be for warehouse, a smaller retail spot this time. So we're excited about that. We have a couple conventions coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. And so we're then be going to those, buying a whole bunch of stuff.
Are you going to C2E2?
I possibly can. If I get the keys by the end of the week, I won't. Because I'll want to be focused on that, and I already have so much product now. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's always being excited about the future. Tomorrow is cool if it goes through, but I still got to sell books, right? And so I think that's the one thing I really want to focus on is having a good variety, working my relationships with all the wholesalers, the warehouses, Ollie's. Opening up 60 new stores gives me 60 new options to buy from. They are opening up some stores over in Arizona. So, Brian, you're then be able to pivot to that. I do have my talk show coming up, so I'll be talking about that pretty soon. I think we're going to start it around the 15th, and it's going to be about comics, wrestling, music, traveling, and Buc-ee's. So that's our 5 topics. I'm very excited about that. And then the other thing is we just get to talk to comic book fans every Tuesday. So that's a very cool thing too.
Dennis, you had a new episode about Pokemon out on your channel.
Yeah, that's right.
This week.
It was underperforming for about 24 hours, and then apparently the Pokemon Mafia got a hold of it and decided to come in and call me 100-year-old scalper. Little do they know, I kind of invented the whole scalping thing with the Wall Street Journal story, but I'm not going to tell them that. And then the algorithm kind of caught it and ran, and now it's a pretty popular video.
Not bad.
And we're shooting 2 new videos tomorrow, and then I may like go crazy and shoot like 4 videos the week after that so that I have content to run while I'm in Japan.
What is, just a quick question on TCG, are you trying to learn this, or is your team kind of the catalyst to it?
What do you mean about TCG?
Trading card games, Pokemon.
No,
Magic,
I understand. So we don't. So first of all, we don't sell on TCG. We use it as a price index.
Right.
But then we also cross-reference eBay prices.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. So are you trying to learn Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Lorcana, or is your team kind of the experts on that? Just
my team is the experts.
Okay.
I'm kind of the old dog learning new tricks when it comes to a lot of this, but then I also teach them other tricks that they might not be able to understand because they don't have the experience in this. So let's take this for, I can break this down really quick, Brian. So I apologize. When we were set up at C2E2 last year, my son would take a binder, somebody wants to sell us cards. My son would take a binder and he would pull out this card, look it up, this card, look it up. He knew the price of this one. No need to look it up. Look it up, look it up. And I'm like, son, you've wasted 15 minutes on this purchase. Guys, are you looking to sell the whole binder? And they're like, well, yeah. What are you offering? I'm like, you tell me, what do you want for it? Tell me right now. $150. And I'm looking and I just go, well, he's already pulled out enough cards that I know there's good stuff in this binder. Time is money. Okay, guys, I'll give you 150. Boom. So that's the young generation wanting to be very specific with buying it. Whereas the guy who was selling it just wanted to sell it. And he just wanted to have money to buy something in the convention. Yeah. Let's cut through the middleman here. So he didn't think that was the option. He was going to go through and look everything up. And then the same thing with when I went to that convention last month. You know, these kids were set up and they sell anime statues and they have a great booth, but they had a box of Pokemon behind there. And I'm like, how much? All right, add it up. Let me know. I'll come back around. And, you know, the higher level negotiations, the old man has to step in and go, hey, guys, this is how you can do this.
Right.
Whereas they're the ones that can look at this like a Terminator and go, he's got the Pokemon, he's got the Charizard, he's got the Pikachu. I know this just went up $20 on TCG Player last week. You know, that's great. You need that. But when the opportunity's there, I'll buy the whole binder, even if it's only $1 or $2 cards on 20 of the pages. We'll make that turn later.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of here's another example. Guy came in yesterday. He had sports cards and he had One Piece cards. He's getting out of One Piece. And I'm like, well, One Piece has been around for what, 25 years, Brian?
Yeah.
The TCG has only been around for about 2 years. And this guy had a giant box, and I said, where's your hollows? And he goes, oh, it's this. And he had like a stack of hollows like this. Well, that's like 200 cards. How much you want for everything? $20. Done. I don't need to look at any of these because I can make $1 a piece off of these 200 cards, and we're all going to make money. You're happy with 20? Boom, it's yours.
Exactly. Hey, Brian, have you been keeping up with this torpedo bat thing?
Yeah, wait.
What's your opinion on that?
Wait, what are you talking about? What is this?
The torpedo bat that they're using in the Major League Baseball this year.
Oh yeah, yes. The Yankees bat.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah, but here's what I don't like. Baseball is supposed to be uniform, down to the uniform. They paid some physicist to create a bat that only the Yankees are allowed to use.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah. They're doing trademark. If you come up with anything that's close to their design,
I don't believe that is fair at all. No. That needs to go.
I think the player or the league is going to say, yeah, no, that can't happen, guys. Especially if it works. You know what I'm saying? Which it does.
Well, yeah, the home runs they've had. Is crazy.
You can't let a NASCAR team come up with a catalytic converter that is different from the rest of NASCAR.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: I'm glad baseball is back because I am flooding my eBay store with cards, and it will have all these new shirts on it. I'll have a bunch of new graded books, and if you're on the lookout for any of the McFarlane variants. And some other great deals. Give me a follow on IG. I'll have Whatnot and eBay sales all this week. That being said, enjoy the episode, you guys. If you're catching it on the rewind, I hope you did enjoy it. And thanks to everybody in the live feeds. We appreciate the hell out of you. Shout out to Kal-El, Ken, and JSS for the super chats. Shout out to my boy Alex for the member donations. You rule, and appreciate all you guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button, and go check out these guys' links in the description below for all of their goodies and sales. We'll see you guys tomorrow night where we'll talk about the entire WonderCon trip. all the fun with all the guys, and that'll be 10 p.m. Eastern Wednesday night review. This has been a great 58th episode of the Industry of Comics. We'll see you guys again next Tuesday. Let's cross our fingers that the sale goes through tomorrow. We're out. Adios.